Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Faith. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Faith, can you hear me? Just to be sure I'm audible enough. Okay. Also, Faith, I don't know if you can help me. I need the link to the YouTube channel so that I can follow up with the audience on YouTube as well. I don't have the link to the I don't have the link to the YouTube so that I can see the audience comment and all. Yeah, I will appreciate that if you can just let me send the link via WhatsApp. Okay. I can, okay. Good evening, everyone. Please, for those on for those on YouTube, please let me know if you can hear me. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. If you can hear me, let me share my screen. So if you can hear me, let me know what you guys can see on my screen. Okay. I think I can hear you. Okay. That's fine. So can you see my screen? Can you all see my screen? All right. Okay. So if you can see my screen, please, what can you see on my screen for those on YouTube? If you can see my screen, what can you see on my screen? Just type what you can see on my screen to be sure that you guys can see, you guys can hear me. If you can see my screen, can you type what you can see on my screen? What can you see on my screen? SQL. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. SQL function. Okay. 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 All right. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. We are together now. All right. So good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning from everyone that are watching from wherever we are watching from. Right. So this is day 3 of our data engineering class, and we are building our foundation, right? And what is the foundation? The foundation is SQL. So we want to first build our foundation. You know, if you have a very strong foundation, you are going to, the rest is going to be very easy for you, right? So we are building the foundation. So on Monday we started with SQL. We talk about different RDBMS, MySQL. We talk about different data types, different commands in SQL. Yesterday, we also talk about a lot of stuff, right? We talk about, how to insert data using bulk insert. We talk about a lot we talk about a lot of stuff, right? So today we want to continue our foundation, right? We want to build our foundation. We want to have a very strong foundation. So today we want to continue with our foundation, which is SQL. So today we are going to be talking about SQL function overview. We're going to talk about what SQL function overview. So we are going to be looking at the aggregate function, scalar function, date and time function, if time permits us. Then we also look at some other elements as well, like over CTE, which is common table expression. We also look at join in SQL, how we can join multiple tables together. And I think we briefly talked about join yesterday when we were talking about order of execution. So today we are going to dive more into all these functions as well. So let's proceed. So let's proceed. So let's talk about aggregate function. So aggregate function operates on a set of rows and return what? Return a single value. What did I say? We have aggregate function. So we start with the aggregate function. Aggregate function what? Operates on a set of rows and return what? A single value for us. Aggregate functions operate on what? On a set of rows and return what? A single value. So what are the most common aggregate functions that we have? We have the count, we have the sum, we have the average, we have the minimum, we have the maximum. Please, if you can see my screen, just type aggregate on the screen. Just type aggregate. Type aggregate on the screen. If you can see my screen, type aggregate. Let's type aggregate. For those who can see the screen, type aggregate. Let's type aggregate if you can see my screen. Let's type aggregate if you can see my screen. Okay, so like I said, aggregate functions operate what? On a set of rows and return what? A single value. They are commonly used to summarize data. They are mostly commonly used to summarize data. So what are the aggregate functions that we have? We have count, we have minimum, we have average, we have maximum. These are the major aggregate functions that we normally use in SQL, right? So what are these functions? What do they do? What do they do? So for count, let's say that you want to know the total number of record in your database. You want to know the total number of record in your database, or total number of transaction made in your database, or in your record. You can use the count. If you want to do aggregation, you want to do revenue, profit, right? You can use your sum function to do that. And if you want to find your average, your mean, right? You can use the average function. And we also have the minimum and the maximum functions as well. So let's see how we can make use of these functions in SQL. Let's see how we can make use of these functions in SQL. So I'll go into my database. So I'll go into my database. So yesterday I showed you a particular table that we are going to be using for our demo, for our practice. So so let's continue with that table, with that database. So I'm going to say select all from dev.all sales. So we want to use this table. So we want to use this table. So we want to use this table. So now you can see we have how many. So we can see this table now. We can see this. We can see this table. You can see this table. Please, if you can see my SQL, you can see my SQL screen. Let me be sure that you can see the studio. You can see my SQL screen. So if you can see my SQL screen, just type screen on the for those on YouTube. Let's type screen. If you can see my screen, if you can see my SQL screen, if I'm okay, Fit. Thank you very much, Fit. For those on YouTube, if you can see my SQL screen, just type screen. Let's type screen. If you can see my SQL screen, screen. Oh, okay, okay. All right, all right. Thank you very much for those on YouTube. Thank you very much. So now look at this table, right? Look at this table that we just run. Select all from the dev.all sales. It returns this table for us. We have the transaction stock date and every other thing. Now we talk about aggregate functions, right? And one of the aggregate function is what? Is count. Is count. What does count does? It helps you to know the number of record, the number of transaction made. So for example, now if you want to know, okay, how many record do we have in this our table, in this our record, how many record do we have? So you can say select what? Count all. Select all. Let's say just say select count all from dev.all sales. So you can even rename this one. Just call this total transaction. So let's call this one total transactions. So you can see we want to know the total transaction in this our table. You can see this is the total number of transactions that we have. We have 259,497 record. This is the total transaction that we have for this record. So you can see what the count does. The count helps you to know the transaction, the total number of transactions. You can even go further. Maybe you want to know transaction by let's say by customer. So let's say that you want to know how many transactions each customer made, right? How many transactions each customer made. So you can say select customer ID, customer ID. You want to know the transaction per each customer, right? Transaction by each customer. You can say group by customer ID. Group by customer ID. Execute. So you can see for customer ID 2. Okay, let's say let's order it. Let's say order by let's say in okay, order by customer ID. So if you look at it now, you can see for customer ID 3, you can see how many transactions, 30 transactions. For customer ID 5, this particular customer only have one transaction. Can you see? For customer ID 6, he has how many transactions? 16 transactions. Customer ID 8, he has 42 transactions. So that is how you can use your count function to know. That's how you can know. They don't give me. Oh, sorry. Is there anything confusing you for those on YouTube? Is there anything confusing you? If you have any challenge, you can come attention. Maybe I will break it down for you. Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy. What we are just doing is aggregation. It's very easy. It's not hard at all. So we are counting the number of transactions, right? So you can see for each of the customer ID now, we have customer ID 3, 30 transactions. Customer ID 5, 1 transaction. You can see, right? Now let's do the same thing for sum. if you go back to the slide, if you look at another aggregate function that we have sum. We have sum. So how do we use sum here? So for example, let's say we want to know the sum of quantity sold. What is the total? What is the total quantity sold? The total quantity sold to each of the customer, or the total quantity sold for the entire record. How do we get that? So to achieve that, we can just use this one. Let's use this formula. I'll just copy it and paste it. So instead of using count, I will use sum here. I will say sum quantity. Sum quantity. This quantity is the name of the column. Can you see quantity? That is the name of the column. So let's call it total. We'll call it what? Total quantity sold, or total unit sold. Total unit sold. We call it what? Data total unit sold. So let's run this, execute. So you can see what is the total unit sold. The total unit sold is what? Is 803,000, right? You can see that is the total unit sold. That is what? That is the total unit sold. That is the total unit sold. Now, if you want to see total units sold by customer, by each of the customer, right? We want to check the total units sold by each of the customer. So now let's just bring in the, I will just add, so let me add sum quantity here. We just add quantity. So we call it total, or let's just say unit purchase. Unit purchase. Unit purchase. So let's execute this. So can you see? Now, this customer 3, he had how many transactions? 30 transactions. But the total number of quantity purchase is what? Of unit purchase is what? Is 89. Can you see? So this customer might, you might went to, it's just like saying that you went to a supermarket, right? You can go to a supermarket 30 times. Maybe the first time what you purchased was 1 unit. The second time when you went there, you bought about 10 items. The next time, maybe you bought just 2 items. So you can see total transaction is what? Is 30. Unit purchase is what? Is 89. I'm trying to check my YouTube. I'm not getting it. How do I accept the table and follow with the section? I think a lot of people here. I think maybe there's a mix up somewhere. Maybe some people want to join the data analysis class or something. So probably Faith. I don't know how they can get into their own section, and we focus on our own people. So yeah, I believe we have some data engineering students here as well. So this section is for data engineering students anyway. Yeah. So if you are for data engineer, for the data engineering class, you can stay. And if you want to learn as well, it's fine. Everybody is welcome. Even in data analysis, you need SQL as well. So SQL is something that is general, is a general course for everybody. Yeah. So, but let's continue. But this is the data engineering class anyway. This is data engineering class. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. If you want me to continue, for those of us that are on YouTube, let's type continue, so that, because a lot of people here, I think they are for data analysis class. So I think there's a mix up somewhere. Yeah. SQL is a general course. Yeah, the general. Everybody needs SQL. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, we have used the sum. If you want to do average, right? You want to do average. So what is average? Average is just you checking. It's just like your mean, right? It's like your mean. So let's add average to this. So let's add average. So I'm going to say, what is the average quantity sold? What is the average quantity sold? So what is the average quantity sold? So the average quantity sold for the entire record is what? Let's say average unit sold. Average unit sold. So let's check the average unit sold. The average unit sold is what? So you can see the average unit sold is what? Is 2. The average unit sold is what? Is 2 for this particular customer. For this particular customer, the average unit sold to this person is 2. You can see that we have 3 as well. You have 3 for each of the customer. If you want to find the average unit sold for the entire record, just change this one. Let's change this one to average. So let's change this one to AVG. Then let's call it average unit sold. If you want to check for the entire record, so this is for the entire record. For the entire record, this is for the entire record. Can you see? For the entire record, we have average unit sold of what? Of 3. But for individual customers, if you run this, you see that we have for customer 3, we have 2. For customer 6, we have 3. You can see. For customer 9, we have 3 as well. And I think some customers even have 1. You can see this one particular one for customer 9. Customer 19 have what? 1 unit sold as the average. So you can see. So that is how you can calculate your what? You can do aggregations in SQL when you are using SQL. This is how you can use aggregation. So we also have the minimum and the maximum. So what does minimum and maximum does is that they just look for the minimum value. So they just look for the minimum value in your table. If you say select minimum quantity from dev.allsales, it's going to just give you the minimum value in that table, in that column. Can you see? The minimum value in that column is what? Is 1. And if you do maximum, let's check the maximum. Let's check the maximum value. The maximum value is 10. Can you see? The maximum value is what? Is 10. So the minimum value is going to look for the minimum value, and the maximum value is going to look for the maximum value. So that is aggregations function. So these are functions, just like the way you have it in Excel, right? So just like the way you have it in Excel, you have functions in Excel. I'm sure that even in Excel too, if you type functions, if you go to your Excel and you type in equals to minimum, you will see minimum function, right? Just like the way we have it in Excel, we also have it in SQL. So those are the functions that you will use as your aggregate functions in SQL. So let's move on. Let's move on to scalar functions. So let's go to scalar functions. So scalar functions, they operate on a single value and return a single value as well. They are used to manipulate data at the row level. They are used to what? To manipulate data at the row level. Okay. All right. So we have the scalar function. The scalar function operates on a single value and return a single value. They are used to manipulate data at what? At the row level. So we have some scalar functions. We have the len, the lower, the upper, the round, right? We have some other functions like that, like the string function. We have the replace, the remove. We have a lot of string function, like they operate on text value, right? Most of these string functions, they operate what? They operate on what? On a text value. They operate on a text value. So they operate on a text value. They operate on a text value. So let's look at some of these examples of a scalar function. Like I said, len, lower, upper, round. So I'm very sure that these functions are something that you most likely be familiar with in your Excel. You'll be familiar with most of these functions in your Excel. The len function, the upper function, right? So let's quickly look at some of these examples. So let's say select all from dev.customer. Let's use the customer table. So let's use the customer table. Now look at this customer table now. So let's say that you want to count the number of the length of the character in this customer address. You want to count the number, the character, the length of the character here. So let's say select customer ID, comma, let's say customer address, then let's say what else? Let's just leave it like this. Then we want to count the length of this customer address. So we're going to say len, open bracket, customer address. So we're going to count, we want to count the number of the length. Then we close this. Sorry, Control Z. Then we say, we just call it what? Length. So we say from dev.customers. Then let's execute. Let's see. So you can see for this particular one, we have 16 character. So that's why it's showing 16 here. This is where we apply the length. So the length is to give you the length of the character here. You can see customer address. That is what we put here. So this is a function. We're talking about functions now. Talking about SQL function. So this length is a function. And it is categorized under what? Under the scalar function. It is a function categorized under what? Under scalar function. So you can see we have this length. You can see 18, 15, 13 as well. Now, what if, let's say that you want to capitalize all the customer, maybe this customer address, you want to capitalize everything. So you just change this one. So let's just change it to, I will say comma. Then, so let's say hopper. So let's say customer address, uppercase, hopper. So let's try to execute this. So you can see now everything here has changed to what? To the uppercase. You can see everything here has changed to what? To uppercase. Everything here has changed to what? To uppercase. You can see everything has changed to. If you want to do lowercase as well, just paste this one and change this one to lower. So let's change it to lower. So let's execute this as well. So you can see that everything here has changed to what? Has changed to lower. Everything here has changed to what? To lower. Right? Everything here has changed to lower. So so this is functions in SQL. We have a lot of functions. We have more than just these few functions that I mentioned here. We have replace, extract, a lot of functions that you can use, especially when you want to do data transformation, when you want to talk about data manipulation. Probably next week, right, when we are talking about data warehousing and some other stuff, we'll talk about how to do data transformation, and you will see how we can make use of some of these functions that I'm talking about now. But this is just the foundation. So let's try to understand this foundation now. So in the coming class, next week class, when we talk about data warehousing, we are going to do data transformation and all here. So this is scalar functions. So these are scalar functions. So these are what? These are scalar functions. These are scalar function. So please, if you have any question around the aggregate functions, scalar function, can you let me just see your chat if you have any questions around that before I move on to the next activity. So let me know if you have any question for those on YouTube. If you have any questions around the scalar function, the aggregate function, can you just drop a comment on the YouTube for those on YouTube. So let's drop a comment for those on YouTube that are following us. If you have any question around aggregate functions and scalar function. So if there is no question, right? If there is no question, if there is no question, let's type continue. Please, can you go through them again? Okay. Okay. Can you go through them again? Okay, I'll just quickly do a recap of what I said earlier. So let me just quickly do a recap. So let's just quickly do a recap. So in SQL, we have functions, just like the way you have functions in Excel. And I said that some of the few functions that we are going to be working with, especially as a data engineer, you work with your aggregate function. It is very, very important. And under the aggregate function, we have the average, we have the minimum, the maximum, the sum, and the count, right? The sum, I think, is one of the most widely used function. Whenever you want to create, you want to calculate profit, you want to calculate revenue, you want to do your cumulative, you use some function a lot. We also have count. For example, you want to know the number of transactions in your record, you make use of count. We have the maximum. If you want to find the maximum value in a table, you can use the maximum. The minimum value, the lowest number in a table as well, or in a column as well. Now, we also talk about the scalar function. So scalar function is mostly used with string. They are mostly used with what? With text, right? They are mostly used with text. We have the len, the lower, the upper. They just return a single value for you, right? So that is scalar, and we have a lot of them. We also have some other function like replace, remove, concatenate. If you want to join two words together, we also have those functions. So we have a lot of functions. We also have date and time. We have date time function. We have year, month. We have if you want to get the name of a month, the name of a week, we have a lot of functions like that. We cannot touch everything because of the short time that we have. So that is that on the function. So let's move on to some advanced SQL techniques or SQL queries that you will most likely use, right? So let's move on to some of the advanced SQL technique like join, CTE, subquery, roll up, and queue. Well, some of them we might not be able to cover them today, but maybe next week, if there's time, we'll talk about some of these advanced techniques if you cannot complete them today. When we're talking about the data warehousing, we'll do some of them. All right. So now let's talk about join. Join is one of the most before I start join, let me know if people are following on YouTube. So let's type join on YouTube to be sure that we are following. So if you can see join on my screen, on my presentation, let's type join. If you can see join, let's type join. so that I will know people that are following me. So let's type join. If you can see join on the screen on my presentation slide, let's type join. Okay. I think people are following. Okay, let's keep it coming. Let me see more coming to be sure that you guys are following. Join. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So what is join? Join are used to combine data from multiple tables based on a common column. There are four major types of join. So when we talk about join, on Monday when we started this class, I told you that okay, someone says that he's just joining. It's fine. That's awesome. I like that word. You are just joining and you met join on the way. It's fine. That's interesting. Okay. So when we talk about join are used to combine data from multiple tables based on what? Based on the common columns. And we have how many type of join? We have I think we have about 6 types of join, but for our class, we'll just focus on these 4 types. We'll talk about the inner join, the left join, the right join, the full outer join. This is the one that we focus on, but we have more than this. We have the Cartesian join, we have the cross join, we have a lot of join, right? I think about 6 of them, but we'll just focus on these 4. Now, I told you on Monday that when we're talking about database, we're talking about what? Relational information. Meaning that in your database, you have information from one table, another information from another table, another information from another table. These tables must have something in common. What did I say? They must have what? Something must join them together. For example, now we are all on this call. I'm sure that majority, there's something connecting us together, right? There's something connecting us together. That thing that is connecting us together, that is where join comes. Hello, in SQL, that thing that is joining us together, that is making you to hear me, making you guys to also respond to me, for me to be able to communicate to you, that is where the join comes in, right? So we're going to talk about all these join type. We have the inner join. Inner join returns record that have matching values in both tables. Where table A equals to table B, they match together. That is inner join. So maybe I should show you this diagram. So if you look at it, inner join is what? I'm sure that a lot of us will know for mathematics, for people that when we are in school, then if you remember, I think it is called set diagram. Yeah, set diagram. It's called set diagram. So if you look at your set diagram, you will see that this SQL join look like set diagram. Okay, someone said YouTube is our join. Exactly, you are right, because that is what is, you can see, that is what is joining us together. Exactly, you are right. The person that said YouTube is our join. Yeah. So if you look at this set diagram, this is look like something that we are very, very familiar with from back there in our secondary school. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So you see inner join. Inner join is where table A and table B they match together. Table A and table B they match together. They match together. And we also have the left join. Left join is what? Is when you are retrieving information from your left table. We are retrieving information from what? From the left table, right? You are retrieving information from the left table. Then you match it with what? With information that matches from the right table. Don't worry, you might be confused. We are going to break it down for you. I'm going to break it down for you guys. So don't worry. We also have the right table, the right join. The right join is what? Is retrieving information from the right table, then matches it with information on the left table where the matches. That is what the right join is doing. Then we also have the full outer join. Whether they match or they don't match, the full outer join is saying what? Match everything together. It doesn't care whether they match or not. Are we together? So that is what the match is doing. So I'm not going to be explaining the rest. I will just focus on the left, the right, the full outer, and the inner join for now, so that we can understand it very well. So now I will go to Excel. So because I want you guys to understand this thing very well. I want you guys to understand it very well. So I will go to my Excel to explain this thing to us. I will go to Excel to explain it. So if you can see my Excel sheet, can you type Excel for those on YouTube? If you can see my Excel sheet, can you type Excel on the comment section? Okay, Faith, thank you very much, Faith. So if you can see like Excel, just type Excel for those on YouTube. Let's type Excel. If you can see my Excel sheet. Excel. Oh, okay. Interesting. Thank you very much. It shows that you guys are following. All right. So now look at these two tables before we go into the SQL, so that because join is something that a lot of people get confused with. So I actually want to break it down for us to understand it very well. A lot of people get confused with join. So if you look at this table now, we have table 1 and table 2. We have two tables. You have two tables. Now, table 1, right? So table 1 contains what? We have student ID, 1, 2, 3, 4. Student name, Alice, Bob. We have student name, Alice, Bob, Charles, and David. Then we also have enrollment, student enrollment, right? These are the students. These are what they enroll for. Student ID 1, 2, 5. Then we have course name, SQL Basic. Some enroll for Python Introduction, and some enroll for what? For Power BI, right? Some enroll for Power BI. Now, we have two tables together, right? Table 1 is the student record. Table 2 is what? Is what they enroll for. Now, let me ask you guys a question. I want a response on YouTube. These two tables, what is common between them? Who can tell us? Just type it on YouTube. What is common between these two tables? The table 1 and table 2, what is common between them? What is common between them? Just type your response. What is common between them? What is common between the two tables? I'm waiting for our response. What is common between the two tables? Student ID. Yeah, God bless you. Yeah, God bless you. Yeah, student ID. People that say student ID, that is the most common thing. Now, please pay attention to this. You see, the student ID is the common, that is where join happens. Where you have common thing, the most common things here, that's exactly where join happens. That's exactly where join happens, right? Now, let's look at the example of inner join, left join, full outer join, and every other join that we have, right? Now, let's start with the inner join. Let's start with the inner join. Inner join says what? Return only matching rows in both tables. So I'm going to look for our lesson because we are going to be doing this together. So inner join says what? Return only matching rows in both tables. Meaning that if you want to use inner join, the record from the two tables must be the same. So who can tell us? Maybe people, oh yeah, please, I want response from people on the YouTube channel, right? Tell us what is going to be our inner join here. What will be our student's name? What will be our course name? What is going to be our student name? What is going to be our course name? So if you can just type your response, let's be fast with the response. You can just type your response, just type it on the YouTube. Okay, someone says student ID. What is going to be? Okay, student ID. Okay. Okay. So what is going to be the ID? I mean the value. If you can, let's put the value there. Let's add the value. Let's add the value. Am I getting a response? If I didn't get a response in 30 seconds, I will proceed myself. Okay, someone said Alice and SQL basics. Okay. Someone said student ID 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Okay. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay, all right. So for the students, for the inner join, right? For the inner join, for student name, yes, we have what? We have Alice. Then we also have Bob here. We have Bob. We have Bob. For course name, what is going to be our course name? Our course name will be what? Will be SQL Basics. SQL Basics. Then we also have what? Python Intro. Python Intro. That is the information for what? For the inner join. So the inner join is going to return what? Someone said Power BI. Why did you put Power BI there? Okay, there's no Power BI there. So for the inner join is going to return Alice and Bob because we have Alice in the table 1 and 2. If you check the enrollment table as well, we also have what? 1 and 2, meaning that these two students enroll for this. So if you are using inner join is only going to return where the information matches. What is common between the two of them? That is what the inner join is going to return. It's going to return what? The common things between the two of them. So that if you look at this diagram here, you see that. So if you look at this diagram here, so you will see that it is only Bob and Alice that happens to matches here, right? It's only Bob and Alice that happen to matches here. So that is the inner join. Now let's look at the left join. What does the left join says? The left join says what? Return all information on all students and courses if they have one. Return all students and courses if they have one. Now, the left join says what? You should retrieve all the information from the left table. What I say? You should retrieve what? The information from the left table. You should retrieve information from the left table. Now, look at this table now. This is our left table. This is our left table. Our left table is what? Is this. The student table. That's our left table, right? So we're going to put all the information on the left table, which is Alice, Bob, Charlie, and David. Those are the information from the left table, right? Those are the what? The information from the left table. So now we want to match the information on the right table. To match the information on the right table now, so let's match it. Alice, we have what? We have SQL basics. Bob, we have Python intro. Bob, we have Python intro. Then Charlie, what do we have for Charlie? Who can tell us? What do we have for Charlie? Who can tell us? What do we have for Charlie? What do we have for Charlie? Let me get the response from on YouTube. What do we have for Charlie and David? What do we have for them? Someone say Power BI. Interesting. What do we have for Charlie and David? Someone said none. Any other person? Any other country opinion? No. Okay. Nothing. Okay. Are you sure? There is nothing. Okay. Yes. For Charles is null. For David as well is null. Is null. So in SQL, right? In SQL, whenever you do something like this, what you're going to expect, what you're going to see is null, right? That is what is going to return for you. That is what the response is going to be, because you don't have their information in this table. So they are going to return null for you. So similar to left join, we also have the right join. So the right join says what? Return all information in the enrollment table and students if they match. Okay. Someone said I should minimize my ribbons so that it can be. Okay, I'm trying to minimize that. Okay. I hope you guys can see my screen. You can see it very well now. Yeah, I hope you can see it very well now. Okay. So now let's look at the right join. So the right join says what? You should return all enrollment and students if match, right? You should return all the enrollment. Now, what are the enrollments? All this one here, they are the enrollment. They are the enrollment, right? Now, return the student if they match. For SQL basics, sorry. So this is supposed to be here. So for student's name, for this is going to be Alice. This is going to be Bob. And for Power BI, it's going to be what? It's going to be null, because there's nobody that chooses Power BI here. You can see there's no relationship between the two tables. If you look at Power BI is 5 here. There's no student ID that is 5 here. I hope you guys understand it now, right? Now, for the full outer, for the full outer, so for the full outer join, right? What the full outer says is that whether they match or not, just return the entire record, whether they matches or not. Whether the tables matches or they did not match, just return the entire record for us. So for the student name, so here, let's see. For the course name, this is going to be SQL Basics. For Bob, that will be Python Intro. For Chow, we don't have anything for Chow, so Chow will be null. For David, as well, is going to be null. For David is also going to be null. Then Power BI is going to be null here as well. So you can see, so this is the full outer join. Please, I hope you guys understand this, because it's better for me to explain it using Excel than going directly to SQL, because in SQL, you might not see a full picture of what we are actually explaining there, right? So that's why I have to come to Excel to come and explain it. So you can see this is full outer join. The full outer join that you are seeing here, the full outer, this one in the middle here, this is the replicate of it here. This is the full outer join here. This is the full outer join. So I believe you understand the join concept now. I hope everybody understand the join concept. Now, let's move to SQL. Probably we can do one examples. Let's see if we can do one example. So let's see whether we can do one example. So let's see join in action, right? So let's see join in action. So we have, we want to, okay, let's do this exercise. Let's do this exercise. So let's do this exercise, right? So let's see how we can use the join, and I'm going to explain the join to you. Someone say Charlie is null. Yeah, Charlie is null. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, you are right. All right. Okay, so let's proceed. Now let's do this exercise. So retrieve a list of customer along with the details of their product purchase, including quantity and total revenue generated. They say what? They say we should retrieve a list of customer. So now we have, let's check it. We have select all. Let's review the table. Select all from dev.customer. Let's review the table. We have customer table. Can you see this customer table? So I want you guys to tell me something. We have customer table. We have this table as well. Select all from products. Can you see the product table? You can see the product table, right? Then the last table, select all from dev.wholesale. So this is the three tables that we are using. Let's run the three tables together. Let me move this one up. Now, this is the three tables that we want to use together. We want to run this three table. We want to use this three table now to explain our join. So who can tell me what is common between these three tables? What is common between these? So let's look at these three tables. I believe we can all see the three tables. We can all see the three tables together, right? The first table is the customer table. The second table is the product table. The third table is the sales table, the record table. So who can tell me what is the common? I told you earlier that in join, whenever you want to join something, there must be something common between the tables. If there's nothing common between the tables, join cannot happen. You can't use join. So who can tell me what is the common thing between these three tables? Who can tell me what are the common things between these three tables? What are the most common things within the three tables? I hope you guys can see my screen. Please, can you see my studio, my SQL Server Studio? Faith, please, can you see my SQL Server Studio? Just to be sure that those on YouTube too can see my screen. Someone said you can't see it clearly. What about others? Okay, Faith says she can see it. What about others? Okay. Someone said product ID. Okay. What else? Someone said the IDs. Okay. Okay. So I want what is the common thing? The common thing between the three tables. You can tell me what are the common things and tell me where it happens on the tables. So if you said product ID, how is it common? Tell me where it is common. Table 2 and 3 has product ID. Okay. Product and customer ID. Okay. So someone said the column are not wide enough. Yeah, the column is very wide actually. So I'm running three tables together. So but all the information that you need is already visible already. The information that you need that I'm asking for is visible for you. Okay. I get what you're saying now. Maybe this one is not wide enough. Okay. So let me get some response. Product ID, the column are not wide enough. Product ID, okay. Product ID. Okay. A lot of people are saying product ID. Okay. Yeah, you are right. So when you say product ID, is it only product ID? Is it only product ID? A lot of people are just saying product ID. Is it only product ID? Is it only product ID? Okay. A lot of people are saying product ID. Okay. Anyway, yes, you guys are right. Some people say product ID and customer ID. Yeah, you are right. And if you say product ID as well, you're also right. But here we need the customer ID. So if you look at these three tables now, customer ID is joining the sales table on customer ID. You can see customer ID is joining this table on customer ID. Product ID too is joining this table on what? On product ID as well. You can see. So the relationship is between customer ID and the sales table, product ID and the sales table as well. So the join is going to happen between the product ID and the customer ID. Now, if you look at the product ID and the customer ID, they don't have anything in common. Product ID and customer ID, they don't have anything in common. So you cannot join these two tables together. The only way you can join these two tables together is to use the third table. This third table, which is the transaction table. That is the only way you can join them together. So in your case, you might think that, because customer and product does not have any relationship, I cannot get a relationship with the table. No. So far that the transaction table have a relationship with either of the table, you can get that relationship. So I don't know how they say, is it a third party relationship? Maybe, for example, now maybe let's use a common the common thing that everybody knows. Maybe, for example, now I like a particular lady, but I don't have a relationship with her. I know a friend of mine that have a relationship with that particular lady, and I said, please share. I like that your friend. Oh, can you help me? Connect with her. So you are not connecting directly to her. You have someone that knows her. So you are connecting directly from from you to through the third party. Exactly. So that's exactly what is going to happen here as well. You understand? So this is just like relationship, right? It's a relationship things here. You might not have a direct relationship with someone, but maybe through a third person, right? You can get that relationship with that person. So the same thing that is going to happen here. So now let's see the action. So let's see the action. So now let's look at the question again. The exercise says retrieve a list of customers along with the details of their product purchase. What they are saying is that give us the customer name alongside the product that they purchase. For example, now you went to a supermarket, right, or a mall, right? You purchase sorry. So you went to a supermarket, you purchase a lot of things. Maybe you bought Coca-Cola, you bought different things in the supermarket. Now we have about thousands of customers that come and transact in a day, in a year. We have their record. Maybe your boss now said, oh, Abiodun, can you please get me the product alongside with the customer? Then I also want to know the quantity and the revenue generated for each of the customer that purchase some. So probably they want to know how much you are spending. For example, now I think here in Nigeria now, they are talking about taxes left and right. Government want to increase taxes, and how will they know how to charge you? How to what is the percentage of taxes we should put on this person? They want to know how you are spending, probably through your transaction, through your bank transaction. They can use any means to get your information, right? They will, this particular set of people, let's put 2% taxes on them. This set of people, they are the low income earner, let's put this certain amount of taxes on them. The same thing in business. Business owner want to know, what are the ranges of how much are our customers spending in a day, in a year, in our branch, in our, maybe depending on the store or depending on the location. They want to know. Probably they might want to use it for what you call for strategic decision making, right? Because here, when we get data is meant to improve either your life, either your business, or make decision. That is the essence of all these things that we're talking about. You're not just gathering data for gathering data because a lot of people gather data, they are not making use of it. When you gather data, look at the trend, understand the meaning. When you look for the information of the customer, this is their purchasing power, or you might even use the information to say, we want to give the best performing customer or the best customer, maybe you want to give them a yearly reward or packages at the end of, December period is coming now and everybody want to give their customer something. You might want to do that, this particular customer spend a lot of money in our branch, and you can use it to do that. So let's see. So now we want to retrieve customer along with their product, including the quantity purchased and total revenue. So let's see how we can achieve that. So we're going to say select. So in our customer table, we have full name. So I'm going to say full name. That's the customer name. Full name alongside with the product that they purchase. So what's the product that they purchase? Product name. Can't see it clearly. Some people are saying that they cannot see my screen clearly. Is it for everybody or it's just for some set of people? Please, if you can see my screen clearly, just type clear. If you can see my screen clear, if my screen is clear, just type clear. I just want to be sure that it's not for everybody. It's just for, if you can see my screen, that is, if my screen is clear, just type clear. So select full name. Then let's select the product name. the product name as well. If you, the product name, comma, then you might also want to check the brand, maybe the brand of the product brand, comma. Now we want to check including quantity. We want to know the number of quantity. Okay, some people say clear, some people say it's not clear. So if it is not clear, it is most likely to be your network, right? So sometimes you might have to change your network and join again. So sometimes it might be network. So network also causes it. Yeah, network also causes it. So product brand, then quantity. We want to add our quantity together. From this quantity now is coming from where? It's coming from the sales table. You can see the quantity is coming from where? It's coming from the sales table. The quantity is coming from the sales table. So I will say quantity. So let's call this one unit purchase. So let's call it unit purchase, comma. Then we want to look for the revenue. The revenue is quantity multiplied by product retail price. Multiplied by product retail price. So let's call it as what? As revenue. As revenue. Then we say what? Now this is where our join comes in. So we say from where? Now don't forget, what we want to do is to what? Is to retrieve the list of customer. Customer is very, very important here. So we're going to say from our customer table. So I'm going to alias this customer as what? As C. I'm going to alias it as C from dev.customer. Then I'm going to say join what? Dev.what? .sales. Because it is only customer table and the sales table that matches together. Now let me show you something, guys. Now I'm going to say let's join. Let's join. Now I'm going to ask you which table is the left, which table is the right here. You can tell me. Just type it on the chart. Which table is the left? Which table is the right among these two tables? I said from dev.customer left join dev.allsales. Which table is the left? Which table is the right? So let's type it on the comment section. Let's type it on the comment section. Okay. Which table is the okay? Which table is the left? Which table is the right? Sorry, which table is the left table? Okay, someone said customer. Table 3 is left. Which one is table 3? Okay, someone said customer table. Okay. Okay. Customer is the left. Yeah. So you are right. The left table is the customer. The first table, please, let's pay attention. The first table you indicate, when you say from, the first table you indicate is your left table. No matter the table you put there, the first table you put is your left table. If you look at it, even with your hand, if you look at it, it's on the left. Even if I put this one, maybe I put it underneath it, right? It is still what? It is still my left. The customer table is still what? Is still my left table. And the left table is what we want to retrieve all the information from. Don't forget, when we are in the Excel, I told you earlier, we want to retrieve all the information from the what? From the left table. Meaning that all the information in your left table must be complete. it doesn't matter if your right table information is there or not, whether it's a match or not. It does not matter here. Do you understand? So that is that. So the left table is our customer table. The right table is our what? Is our sales table. So I'm going to alias this sales table as A. Then I will say on what? C dot customer ID equals to A dot customer ID. Don't forget, I told you earlier that something must be common between the two tables that we want to join together. And the common thing between them is the customer ID. You can see customer ID, customer ID. A means what? All sales. C means what? Customer. That is what it means. So I already alias it. Okay, maybe for you that are a beginner, let me put as so that you understand it very well. So that when you are watching it, you will not be confused. So as A, as C, C means what? Customer. We have already said that this dev.customer should be what? Should be C. And we said this dev.all sales should be what? Should be A, right? That's what we are saying here. Then this is where we are joining them together. This is where we are joining them together. Now, there's a third party person, which is what? We are not going to say what? Join what? Join dev.product. Join dev.product. We call this one P. Join dev.product. We call it P, right? Now, this P, you don't necessarily need to put whether it is a left, because the most important thing, where we actually need the left join is the customer table. We are not really concerned about the product table here. We are not really concerned about the product table here. So we can use the inner join. So this is, whenever you use join, is the same thing as inner join. Whenever you use join, whether I type join here, it is the same thing as what? As inner join. And also, left join is the same thing as left outer join. It's the same thing. Whenever you see left outer join, it's the same thing as left join. And when you see right outer join, it's the same thing as right join. Right? It's the same thing as right join. So it's the same thing as right join. So let's continue. Then I will say on what? On P dot product ID equals to A dot product ID. Because if you look at this table now, product table have product ID, sales table also have what? Also have product ID. So we have to join them on those conditions, right? On product ID. On those ID as well, right? So now we are not going to say what? Group by. You know, I told you that whenever you are doing aggregation, anytime you are dealing with aggregation, you must always accompany it with what? With a group by statement. So we are going to say group by. We're going to group by all the category that we selected. All this category. We need to group it by the category. So group by okay. Group by full name, blah, blah. Okay, so let's execute this and see. It return an error. Why does it return an error? Full name. Let me check the customer table. Maybe I did not spell the name very well. Full name. The spelling is correct now. What's the issue? Full name. Group by. Oh, sorry. I did not add the by to it. Sorry. Group by. So let's execute. So you can see now. So you can see for this particular customer, you can see how many units purchased. 3 units. What is the revenue? You can see the revenue, right? You can see the revenue that this particular person purchased, right? You can see the revenue for each of the products. For each of the product that they purchase. So you can see their revenue. Now, if you look at this record, let's check something. I want us to check something. Do we have the entire customer base? Let me do something. Let me do order by revenue. Let's do in ascending order. Okay. All the customers actually have. Let me do in descending order and see. I think all the customer that we have here, they actually have they have sales. They have something that they have sales, right? All the customer have sales. Yeah, all the customers have sales. So this is how to make use of your join. This is how to use join. Join, sometimes it might be more complex than this. Oh, please, it might be more complex than this, but let's just leave it as this basic one for now, right? So as you guys continue your journey in your data engineering or data analytics or data science or any field that you find yourself, you will have to use more join. So I will encourage you to go and learn more about join, because it can be more complex than this, but this is just the basic of it, and I hope we all understand this. So if you understand, if you have any question around join before we move on, so let me know if you have any question around join. Let me know before we move on. Okay. So if you have any question around join, you can let me know. Should I continue? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we good? Do we understand join now? If I give you any question or any task on join, can we solve it? Okay. People are saying yes, sir. So that means that you guys are cool with join. All right. So join is very interesting. Actually, it's very, very, and no matter where you find yourself, you will use it because join SQL is something that is is one of the most common language in all data, in the data space. Like SQL is the most common one, so you will use join often. And as a data engineer, you most of the time you're not going to be working with one tables, right? You'll be working with multiple tables. Sometimes I've seen tables that they are up to like 100 tables. So you need to understand this join very well. You need to understand the join very well. And if you do not understand it, when you start your journey, you'll be finding it difficult. So that is why we are laying the foundational knowledge now. So please, let's try as much as possible to read more on all this. So let's move on to the last part. Let's move on to the last area, to the last thing that we'll look at today. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at is called common table expression. It's called what? Common table expression. It's called what? Common table expression. Let me. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at is what? Common table expression. So let's type CTE. Let's type CTE. If you can see my screen, you can see my slide. Let's type CTE, common table expression. Let's type it so that I will be sure that we are now on the same page. Let's type CTE or common table expression. Let's type CTE or common table expression. CTE. Okay, thank you very much, Faith. Let me wait for people on YouTube so that I'll be sure that we are on the same. So that we'll be sure that we are on the same page. I've not gotten any response from YouTube. CTE. Okay. All right. CTE. Common table expression. CTE. All right. So CTE are what? They are temporary results set. They are temporary results set that amplify or simplify complex query. So they allow you to break down a complex query into smaller or more manageable parts. What did I say? CTE are what? They are temporary result sets that simplify what? Complex query. They allow you to break what? Down a complex query into smaller or manageable parts. So that is what's common CTE. So CTE is just like a table. You are creating a query, but inside that query, you want to create a table in that query. So that means that the table you are creating in CTE does not exist naturally. So what I mean by they don't exist is this. Let me go back to the studio. If you look at my database, let me open my Maven market and let's open this table. So let's open this table. So if you open this table, you can see this table now, right? You can see all the dev sales, the calendar, the customer, all the table that we have been running, right? You can see all the table. But when we talk about CTE, the table we are creating in CTE, it will not be physically available. You will not see it physically. This table is only going to exist within that query. And once you are done using that query, you don't have that query again. The table does not store anywhere physically for you. I hope that is clear. The table does not store what physically. You don't have the physical appearance of that table in the common table. But the reason why we are using common table expression is that it helps us to simplify our query. Alternatively, you can also use subquery. We have what they call subquery. But for me, I prefer using CT because it is more readable than subquery. Maybe in our next class, when we are talking about data warehousing and when we want to do so, I can also mention the subquery part because it's also very, very important. But for simplification, for beginners like you, right, I prefer to make things more simple and more so that we can. Someone say which one is CTE? So CTE means common table expression. The person that is asking what is CTE, it means common table expression, and that is what I'm just trying to explain. Again, common table expression means that you are creating a temporary table in your query. The table does not store physically. You are only using the query within your query. Once you execute that query, the table does not do anything again. You can't reference that table all over again. So let's see common table expression in action. Let's see how we can create a common table expression. Yeah, let's see how we can create common table expression. So I have a question here. So we'll use this question to practice. So let's use this question to practice. So when we talk about CTE or common table expression, right? When we talk about CTE or common table expression, we usually have we can have a single CTE and you can have a multiple CTE. I think I've seen CTE like someone writes a query and the query is very long. It wrote about more than 4 CTE inside it. So sometimes we are going to look at the two examples so that you will not think that so CTE is so simple like this. It can be complex at times, but I'm not going to go into the complex part. I will go into the simpler one for us, right? So let's look at these examples. We'll talk about CTE. So they say we should create a query using single CTE. This is an instruction. We are being given instruction. When you start working as a data engineer, nobody's going to be giving you this kind of instruction. Nobody's going to tell you use CTE, don't use CTE. Nobody's going to tell you use aggregation, use scalar function, or use join. Nobody's going to tell you all those things. You'll be the one, data analytics, data engineering, it involves a lot of critical thinking. So please, you have to think to solve problems. We have to think to solve problems. So it's not like there's going to be a way someone is going to push you and say, oh, this is how you should do it. Nobody's going to do that, right? So you have to think and say, okay, based on your knowledge, your experience, okay, what option should I use, right? So now we want to create a query, a single CTE calculate the total quantity sold for each product. They say we should what? We should calculate what? The total, we should create a single CTE to calculate what? The total quantity sold for each product. Then, using the result of the CTE, display the product name, product brand, and the total quantity sold for each product in descending order of the total quantity. So, like I said, in most cases, nobody is going to tell you to use CTE. No. But to just make things easier for yourself, to simplify things, that is when you can make use of your CTE, right? So now let's see how to use CTE in this case. You will observe that most of the time, when I start writing my query, I always start with select. But whenever you want to write a CTE query, you don't start with select. We don't start with what? We don't start with select. What do we start with? We start with width. We start with width. We don't start with select. We start with what? With width. So I'm going to say width. Width. So let's create our CTE. So let's say CTE1. You can call it CTE, or you can give it any name. You can give it any name. What do you want to calculate here? But let's use CTE so that you guys will understand it very well. So let's say with CTE1 as what? I'm going to say open bracket and close your bracket. So this is a single CTE that we want to write. So with CTE1, we want to create what? We want to create the total quantity sold for each product, right? So I'm going to say select product ID, comma, select product ID. And what are we looking for? We're looking for the total quantity sold for each product, right? So select product ID. You can also select the product name in case if you want. Product name, then some quantity, right? Some quantity as total quantity sold. Total quantity sold. Total quantity sold. And okay, I don't need this one. Let me just remove this one. I don't need this one. Let me remove the product name. So then I will say from where? From where? So let's say from dev dot. We can put this information from the all sales. From dev dot all sales. So if you execute this one, if you run this, if you run this query, this one here, okay, we need to put a group by statement there. So we say group by what? Product ID. So can you see? So now we have what? Product ID 884. This is the total quantity sold. product ID 7442. You can see the quantity sold here. Now, what we are saying here is that everything here is now a table. What did I say? Everything here from select, everything here now is now what? Is now a table. Now this table is called what? Who can tell me? What is the name of the table that we created now? What is the name of the table that we just created? Who can tell us? Who can tell me? What is the name of the table that we just created? The temporary table that we just created. Who can just type it on the channel, on the YouTube channel? What is the name of the table that we just created? The temporary table that we just created. What is the temporary table that we just created? Who can tell us? Just type it on the comment. Let me see. What is the name of the table that we just created? Single city. Okay. No, I call it a name. What is the name? There's a name for it. I name it something here. Just type the name. I want the name. Common table expression 1. Okay. Yeah. So you are right. The person that says city in 1. So it is called city in 1. City in 1. If you look at our table, we don't have total quantity sold before. But now we have created a column called what? Total quantity sold. Meaning that this simple query that we just wrote here is now what? Is now city in 1. Is now what? Is now city in 1. Everything here is now called what? City in 1. Meaning that I can reference this city in 1 in my query again, in this same query that I'm writing. I can reference it. This city in 1 again, I can reference it. Now let's continue. We are not done with this query. We are not done. So I'm not going to say, they say we should now display what? Display the product name, product brand, and total quantity sold for each product in descending order of the total quantity. So I'm not going to say what? Select what? Product name. Select product name, comma, product brand, then total quantity sold. Total quantity sold. Now I can call this total quantity sold now, even though it does not exist before, but because I already have it in my city in 1, right? I already have it in my city in 1. So I'm not going to say total quantity sold. Then I will say from where? From dev dot what? From dev dot product. I can call this one P. Join. What am I going to join it with? What am I going to join? Which table am I going to join this thing with? You can tell me. Which table am I going to join this dev.product with? Which table am I going to join with? I want our response on YouTube. Which table am I joining this table with? This product table. Which table am I joining with? Look at the information that I selected. I selected product name. Product name is coming from where? Product table. Product brand is coming from where? Product table. Total quantity is coming from where? Where is total quantity coming from? So the table that this total quantity sold is coming from is what I'm joining with. So which table am I joining with now? I need our response on YouTube. Please, let's drop our response. Okay, someone says city in 1. I need more response. So because of time, so we are joining with city in 1 because that is the temporary table that we just created. So we call it C. We can call it C1, right? Then we say what? On P dot product ID equals to C1 dot product ID, right? Dot product ID. Then let's execute everything together. Can you see? Product name, product brand, total quantity sold. That is what the requirements say we should do. That's the request. So you can now, maybe your boss, you want to give your boss the result of this thing. You can just right click and you can right click everything. Then you can right click everything. I'm coming. Then save result as, or okay, let me cancel it. You can copy it as well. Copy with headers. Then if you want to paste it, you can go to your Excel. Come and paste it in your Excel. Can you see? You can see. You can paste it in your Excel. You can see. So if your boss needs this information, you can just send it to his email that this is the total quantity sold for each of the product that we sold. You understand? This is the result. You just send it to them via Excel or through your email address. You can see. So that is that. Okay, so that is CTE 1. You can see it's very, very easy. CTE does not start with select. It starts with what? With the with statement. That is it. Right? I hope that is taken. So now let's quickly, because of time, we are running out of time already. So let's quickly look at the second example of CTE that I have. This is a very bit is a bit complex anyway, but let's see. So this is this one is very long anyway. So let's see. So this one now is using more than one CTE. We're going to write more. This one that I just did for us now is just a single CTE. But this second one, we have more than one CTE inside it that we're going to write. So create a query using two CTE. The first CTE should calculate the total revenue. Hello, we want to calculate what? Total revenue for each product by multiplying the quantity from the transaction table by the product retail price. The second CTE should calculate what? The profit for each product by subtracting the total cost from what? From the product cost. Then we should display what? The product name, the product brand, and total cost. That's what we say we should display. So well, okay. So let's do it together. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. So the first CTE said we should calculate what? We should calculate revenue, right? So we're going to say with CTE 1 as open bracket and close your bracket. So we want to first calculate our revenue. So I'm going to say select what? Select product ID, comma. We want to calculate revenue here. So we're going to say sum what? Quantity multiplied by what? Multiplied by product retail price. So product retail price. So this is what as product retail price. So this is what as revenue. So this is our revenue, right? These are our revenue. Then we say from dev dot all sales, it is A, join dev dot product, which is P, on what? On A dot product ID equals to P dot product ID. Now, if you try to run this it's going to throw an error. Can you see? It's going to throw an error. It's saying that what? Ambiguous column name product ID. Whenever you see this type of error, right? Whenever you see this type of error, what it means is that this query does not understand which product ID you want to use, because there's product ID in the product table. There's also product ID in the what is it called, in the sales table as well. So you have to indicate which table you want to pick your product ID from, right? So let's pick it from the sales table. So let's say a.product ID. Let's pick it from the sales table. So if you try to run it now, you are trying to run the inner query now. The inner query. Okay, we need to add group by with it. We need to add group by with it. So we're going to say group by what? A.product ID. So if you try to run this one now, you are going to get your revenue. Can you see? We have gotten our revenue here. Can you see? So now let's calculate our product cost. So I'm going to say comma. So for you to write another CTE, we want to write multiple CTE here. So we say comma here. So let's write another CTE. We're going to say CTE2 has open bracket and close your bracket. So the same thing. Let me just copy everything here. I'll copy everything here and put it here. The only thing I will change is the product cost. Then I'll call this one total cost. That's total cost. So that's total cost. If you run this as well, if you run this inner query as well, you should get your total cost. Can you see? Total cost. Now, the last CTE that we'll create. So no, the last query, the expected query. So display the product name. You can see what they say we should display. So we should display everything here. So let's see what they say we should display. We should display product name. So I'm going to say select product name. Select product name. Faith, please let me be sure that you can you guys still hear me? Please, can you guys still hear me? Can you still hear me? And can you also see my screen? Okay. Just need to be sure you guys can hear me. Okay. All right. Okay, so we want to pick the product name, product brand as well, product brand, total revenue, which is our revenue, then also our cost, total cost, then profit and profit. So for profit, we are going to calculate the profit. So we're going to say revenue minus total cost So that's profit. So that's profit for us. So then we'll now say what? From where? From dev.product. From dev.product P. Join what? Join what? What do you want to join with? We join it with the CTE1. So let's say CTE1, which is C1, on what? What do you want to join it with? Join it on. So we want to join it on C1 dot product ID equals to P dot product ID. Then we'll also say what? Join CT2, which is C2, on C2 dot product ID equals to p dot product ID. So can you see? Let me. So they say we should do what? We should sort it. We should sort the profit in descending order. We should sort the profit in descending order. So we're going to say order by profits in descending order. Can you see? So now let's execute. You can see how long this. So some 60 might be longer than this. It might be more complex than this. I mean, so it can be more complex than this. So let's execute this. So let's execute this and see. So can you see now? So you can see. So we have the product name, product brand, revenue, total cost, and profit. You can see total revenue, total profit, and total cost and profit. Now, the reason why we are using CTE here is because of what? CTE makes our work more readable. It is more readable than when you are just writing or just joining or writing sub-queries, right? So CTE makes your work to be more readable. It breaks down complex tasks, complex query. It breaks it down into a readable format for you. You can easily understand what you are writing. It's easily understandable here, right? So this is how you write CTE. So this is how you write CTE. So I don't know whether you guys have any questions. Please, if you have any questions, we have 8 minutes left. So I'm not going to do anything more. So let me understand. If you have any question, you can just type your question. If there's any areas we need to cover, we need to talk about, right? So let's talk about it. Any question, please? Any question from anyone before we leave today? Any question? Please, can you still see my screen? Can you guys still hear me? Just to be sure that we are still together. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? Okay, thank you, Fritz. Yeah. So if you have any question, please let's type in our question. Let's type in our question. If you have any question, let's type our question. Any question? Any question? We have just few minutes left. So let's answer. Let's hear from. Let me hear from you guys. If you have any question, do you guys even understand what we have done today at all? Like, we have talked about a lot of things today: aggregate, join. Okay, someone said that is it necessary to always add group by when you are to query set data? Where can we apply this knowledge? Okay, so let me answer the first question. Is it necessary to always add group by? So whenever you are using aggregate function like sum, average, count, minimum and maximum, yes, you must use group by. You see that in this place, when I did not use group by, I did not use any aggregate functions here. So I did not use group by here. So anytime you are using aggregate function, yes, you are using aggregate function like sum, average, max, minimum. Yes, you must always use group by. Yes, yeah. So Kunle, the person that has that question, it is necessary you add group by when you are using aggregate functions. Now, someone said that where can we apply this knowledge? You can apply it in anywhere, any field. I don't know. Is there any field that does not use data? There's no field. Data, call it operational, hospital. I don't know. Is there any? I don't know if anybody can tell me one field that does not use data. Any field that does not use data, I don't think so. It's not possible. So everybody works with data. So you can apply your SQL knowledge in anywhere. Anywhere. I can bet it with you. Anywhere, any field. So your SQL knowledge is I think is if you don't even know SQL in this age itself, I don't know, unless you're not doing it's not even about tech now. I think it's just a common language that everybody have to know. Yes, to make your work easier. Yeah. So if you ask me that where can you apply the knowledge, I would say in all field, be it medical, be it marketing, be it sales, education. You work with school, you get data, you want to create reports, you can apply all these skills. They are very, very essential here. Yeah. Can you use multiple city in a single query? Can you use multiple city in a single query? Hmm. Your question is not is I think you already answered your question yourself. Since it's a single query, you don't even need to if your query does not require is not if it's not a complex query, you might not even need to use CTE. You can say I've written some queries earlier before now that I didn't use CTE. I think I've written some query before. Let me show you. I've written some queries before. Yes, I use this is a query that I wrote and I did not use CTE. So it's not in all cases you have to use CTE. In some cases, see that is it the same as data analyst? Yes, SQL is the same thing across all board. SQL is the same thing. There's nothing changes in SQL. Whether you are learning SQL for data engineering, whether you are learning SQL for data analysis or data science, or in any software engineering, SQL is SQL in anywhere. So it's not like you learn SQL for data analysis and you learn SQL for data engineering. No, it's the same SQL. The knowledge you carry from your analyst, you can go to the data engineering part. So SQL is a general, is the same thing across all board. Yes, it's the same for data analyst. Can you use multiple city in a query? I think I've answered that. You can use it's not all the time all queries you have to use CT. The only reason why you are using CT is just for breaking down your complex tasks, breaking down your complex query. If the query is looking confusing, you can just use CT to break it down for people to understand what you are writing. Please, I have not received pass, but okay. Please, in our next class, do repeat the CTE course. Really? Someone said I should repeat the CTE course. Well, because of time, I'm lazy. Because of time, I might not be able to repeat it because in our next class, if I have time, I will go over it again. But if I don't have time, because of we still have a series of courses to cover, right? So if I'm not able to cover it, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I can share you the link, or maybe if I can get some resources, I will post it on the LMS system, or share with with some of our co-presenter to give you the link. So, but you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can give you the access to the access to some other material that you can watch that can assist you to learn more on these topics, right? Because we might not be able to cover everything, in depth, right? So, but next classes I will try to cover to go over it again. Yeah. Please in our next class, we repeat the city course. Okay, I will try. Is there any other thing? Any other questions? We have okay. I think it's time already. So, guys, I think we have a wonderful evening. Please don't forget to share the link to the WhatsApp chat. I will share to them. Okay, all right, no problem. Faith, I will do that. Thank you. So, what is the difference between Postgres and MySQL Server? So the difference is just that the company that owns them is different. That's the only thing I would say. So Postgres is owned by I don't know, maybe Oracle or something. I don't know. I think it's an open source system. Microsoft SQL Server is owned by Microsoft. The language, I think they have some little differences, like little. I think I explained that in our first class. If you watch the first class, I've said it. I've told you already. However, set to the values used in particular today. Yeah, the data can be shared with you guys as well. But how do you get the data? Maybe via the LMS system as well. The default path was sent to you. Okay, so by the LMS system so you can get it. So guys, please don't forget to share your journey. I always encourage people to, share whatever you learn. Let people know that you are learning something, right? That is how to be visible to others. So that, a lot of us here, I know we want to get job, we want to get connection, we want to network with people, you know, share your journey with people on your social media platform. Little things that you learn, the city, the join that you learn, aggregate function that you learn, just take a short note of it, put it on your social media, tag the incubator up, thank them for this amazing thing that they are doing. Right, it's not easy actually. So please, let's see those on your social media platform, and please make sure that you share your journey, and you share your journey. So thank you guys, everyone. I really appreciate your time and effort this evening. Please, we'll meet again next week. I think next week is our next class, so we'll see you again next week. So thank you very much, Faith. I think we have done so well today. We'll see you again next week by God's grace.